back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so it's about 9:30 on the first day of the OWL Read-a-thon, OWL Read-a-thon, and I have just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on how I was getting on reading wise. So this is Throne of Jade, which is the first book I am probably going to finish for this readathon. I am about halfway through this today. I got it on audio and I started reading it at work, and I have got about halfway through, so I'm hoping I'll finish it up either tomorrow or the day after. The other one that I'm currently reading is this one, Dagger Spell. I started this one earlier today, and this one I have got 48 pages into. I think it's about 500 pages, so just under a tenth of the way. Hoping to make good progress on this one over the next few days, but as I say, it's a long one, so it'll probably take me a bit of time. But yeah, definitely enjoying what I've read of it so far. It's about 9:30 at the moment, so I'll just let you guys know if I read any more tonight. Otherwise, you'll get an update from me maybe tomorrow. Hey guys, so today is Tuesday the 2nd of April, and I just thought I'd give you guys a little bit of an update. I did end up reading for a little while last night, and I got a fair way into my first book, which is Dagger Spell. Remember, this one I'm about 128 pages into at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. It's taken a completely different turn from where I thought it was going to go, because in the first instance it was about a young girl, and now it's completely changed tack and it's following all these people who are like really politically involved, people who are trying to learn magic and study magic, but there's love involved and loss, and it's just gone in a completely different direction from where I thought it was going to go, I think. Maybe it's just because this new character's been introduced and we're kind of finding out all of their story, but I'm intrigued to see whether the two characters we've been introduced to so far are going to end up meeting one another, or what happens. So that's that one. Really enjoying it, but very baffled as to where it's all going. And then the other book that I've been reading today whilst I was at work was Throne of Jade, which I'm still making good progress on. I'm actually only about 60 pages from the end, so I'm hoping I can finish this one up either today or definitely tomorrow, and that will complete my potions, because it is the next ingredient or sequel in a series. So very, very excited to say that I've almost finished one book and it's only day 2. Definitely should be able to make good progress on the rest of them. As soon as I finish one of these, I'm going to start another one, so should be fun. Hey guys, so it is now Wednesday and it's the 3rd day of the readathon. As you can see, I'm on my lunch break from work, so I thought I'd just give you guys a little update of where I've got to. Last night I managed to read more of this one and I'm about halfway through now, so hoping to make good progress. I'm still enjoying it. Definitely feel like the two plots that we've kind of been introduced to are kind of coming together a bit more now, so I'm interested to see how it all plays out. It's very classic epic fantasy, this. It doesn't feel like there's any big surprises. It just feels very kind of peaceful and nice, and I enjoy it, so I'm going to sit in the park and read some more of this. However, I did manage to finish up Throne of Jade, which it was my audiobook. Don't have the physical edition because I was audiobooking it at work, but I did manage to finish it and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a 3.5, and that ticks off my potions exam, so I'm very happy to tick that one off. Hopefully I'll start something else soon to tick off some of the other stuff, but yeah, thought I'd just give you a little miniature review of that one. So what I liked about it the most is that it focuses on Temeraire, who is a dragon, and Lawrence, who is his good human friend, and they kind of are like almost master and rider, but not quite the same, because the relationship between men and dragons is kind of different. And I really enjoyed seeing the way that Temeraire was unafraid to kind of just sit down and have discussions about things he thought was wrong. So there's slavery in the book, and there's a difference between how dragons are treated and how humans are treated, and I just think that Temeraire brings up some really interesting points in the story, and they have some really deep discussions in a very calm way. It's actually quite a calm
I wouldn't say overly eventful book. Not a lot happens. There's not an awful lot of adventure to it, but it is one that I think has a lot of good merit to it. Mainly it's a character-driven fantasy, and I liked it a lot, so I gave it a 3.5. But in general, the discussions were good, and I'll definitely carry on with the rest of the series at some point. I already own the third, but I think there's at least 6 or something, so there's quite a lot in the series that I still need to pick up. But yeah, now I'm going to sit in the park in the sunshine and read some more of this one. Hey guys, so I'm sat in front of my bookshelf. I just filmed another video and I thought I would do a little bit of an update for you on how I'm getting on with the Owl Read-a-thon. So currently it is day 9, so I've skipped out loads of days giving you guys updates, and that is because I had a really big event on that I was planning over the weekend, and leading up to that I had a couple of extra things I needed to get done, and then carrying on from that, I was kind of just knackered, if that makes sense. So I didn't read a lot over like the last days of last week and the weekend, but I have got back into reading again, and I wanted to just talk to you about how I've been getting on. So for Daggerspell, I've been getting on pretty well. This one is my Care of Magical Creatures book, and I am on page 350 at the moment, and it's about 450 pages, so I will finish this one up soon, hopefully tomorrow. Fingers crossed. I keep saying this every day and then just not sitting down and actually having the time to read. So I'm really hoping I can finish this one up either tonight or tomorrow, depending on how late I get back. I'm going out both days for a little bit, but hopefully not for too long. So that one's going well. I actually did finish my Charms one, but I changed my Charms one. Originally it was The Sword of Kaigan, and I changed it to be an audiobook that I had, which is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I'll put a picture of it. I loved this book. It was so fun. It was just so light-hearted and charming and silly and witty. And for Charms, you have to just read an adult work. It doesn't really specify because it's just about the age line in Harry Potter and crossing it. So adult is the key. And this is definitely adult. It is quite naughty at times, sexual, definitely, and a lot of fun. It's just cheeky, sassy, rakish men who are on a grand tour around Europe, and one of them's called Monty and one's called Percy, and then Monty's sister Felicity also comes along with them, and it was just a romp. It was a good, solid adventure back in the days where men did go on tours around Europe to try and kind of, I don't know, it was almost a coming of age passage, I suppose. And this young gentleman, Monty, our main character, is quite a rake. He is not someone who is following the rules. He's very much his own kind of individual character. He's also bisexual, and we have a lot of sexual tension throughout the entire book between him and his friend, really good friend and best friend since they were children, Percy. But we don't really know where that's going to go. And we also have Felicity's storyline. Felicity is such a wonderful character. She's just completely defying the stereotypes for the time period. She does not want to be a woman who sits at home and sews. She wants to be a person practicing medicine, and she's very much determined to get there, even though her father does not approve and does not think that is a profession for a lady. So she's being sent off to finishing school, but while she is there and she's on the grand tour with them, things get a bit kind of rowdy. It's not just the sexual tension and their relationship and her kind of standing up against the norm. It's also a mad adventure with a little twist of magic thrown in, and it's just fun. Really enjoyable series. So I loved the first one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and ticked off Charms with it, so very happy about that. I will be reading the second one, maybe not in this readathon, but definitely at some point soon, because it was just such a fun read and I really enjoyed it. I've also decided that I am switching around the way that I am doing my Defense Against the Dark Arts book, because for that it was going to be the Rig, which I showed you guys in my TBR, but now I've changed it to be The Ruin of Kings. This one is one I've wanted to read for a while. I picked it up on audio and I didn't quite get into it when I tried to start it last time. I only read maybe an hour or so, or listened to rather, and I just wasn't that into it, I think because my headspace at the time was really messed up with lots of other life stuff happening. Now that I'm in a better headspace and like back into the reading mojo, I'm really enjoying it actually. It has a lot of different character voices, but actually they're all telling the same story from different timelines and different viewpoints, and it's all about the story of this young boy called Kieran, or Rook as he goes by sometimes, and he seems to have had quite the adventure and quite the life, and it's kind of a recapping of it. Hey guys, so today is day 10 of the Owl Read-a-thon, and I have been making good progress on my Defense Against the Dark Arts book, which is The Ruin of Kings. Really enjoying it now that I've got into it. I'm about a third of the way through. Took me a little while to kind of get into it, I think, because it focuses on one character, but it's told from multiple people's perspective, different narration, and it's also told from various plot lines and timelines. So you're seeing a kind of retelling of the story, and you're also seeing a different viewpoint on the story, and then you have like this narrator who's kind of reading it with you and giving his input. So there's a lot of different characters and things to get your head round at first, and then I think it gets better after you kind of get to grips with everything and who everyone is and all that kind of thing. But it's very politically charged, it's got a lot of magic, it's definitely got a lot of suspense and intrigue, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm very pleased that I picked that one to change to, and hopefully I can finish that one up over the next week or so. I kind of only audiobook when I'm at work or when I'm doing like tidying or something, so I tend to get through them fairly quickly if it's a really good story, but it depends how busy I am at work, and at the moment I'm fairly busy, so we'll see. I also decided that whilst I'm home I'm going to start one of my physical books, and I think I'm going to start my Muggle Studies, which is a contemporary I believe, and I'm going to read this one, The Girl in the Broken Mirror. I haven't read any of the books by this author before, but I'm intrigued to see how it goes, and hopefully because it's kind of controversial subject matter it should be quite an interesting one to read, and hopefully because it's contemporary it should be quite a fast-paced book as well. So I'll let you guys know what I think. I might give you an update in a little while. It's just gone 10 and I just finished up reading this one. There it is. I definitely wasn't sure I was going to finish the whole thing in one sitting, but that is exactly what happened. Contemporaries kind of tend to go one way or the other with me. Either I really like them and I get super engrossed and the story's just like too captivating to put down, which is kind of what this was a little bit, or I hate them. So at least this was more towards the captivating side. I do think this book comes off as quite simplistic at times. We follow a young girl who is called Jade, and she's from an Indian culture, but she lives with her mum, and her mum is fairly lenient, her dad's fairly lenient. They kind of have both been raising her in the UK. Although she has this Indian heritage, she has a lot of UK culture, and she doesn't really kind of adhere to the Indian heritage quite so much as some traditional Indian families and people do. But she has an aunt and an uncle who are very kind of traditional, and they end up going to live with them when her father's died, and it's been a few years and they are kind of financially struggling. So that's what they do. They go and live with the aunt and uncle, and when they get there some really bad things happen. She can't see her friends anymore because they're so traditional, and her aunt doesn't like sort of people who aren't Indian coming over. It's a really interesting look at the Indian culture, a very extreme version of it, but it's definitely an interesting look. And I also think it's a really good look at rape and rape culture and sort of the shame that surrounds it, and the way that different cultures approach rape as well. And I think it's definitely an impactful kind of read. It's one that probably is way too hard-hitting for some people. It was a hard read at times, definitely made me like choke up a little bit and get a bit emotional. So I definitely wouldn't recommend it to everyone, but I think it is a very important message and I definitely enjoyed it. So with that all being said, it was a bit simplistic at times, so I kind of didn't give it as high a rating as I could have done. So I'm going to give it like a 3.5, I think. For me, definitely one that I enjoyed, but it does have some flaws and it is a hard topic to wrap your head around. Hey guys, so it is day 11. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I think I'm about halfway through. I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely a bit more convoluted than some of the other books I've read, especially for a debut. I feel like it's quite complex. I just enjoy it. Big awesome dragons who are like, I don't know, just beating up everyone and threatening them. There's characters who have geishas, which means that they can be controlled by other people. I think she's done a very original job of the world, even though it is kind of a fantasy world in every stereotypical way. It's still got its own unique quirks with the magic and the characters. It is day 12, nearly halfway through. Need to pick up my reading pace a little bit as we are halfway through. But I have been reading today The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. Really enjoying it. About 80% or so through now, so I should be able to finish it up. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe not the weekend, it depends if I get any audiobook time, but definitely sort of like in the next few days, I think. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I'm really enjoying it, so that's good. It's got loads of like political stuff going on, and I don't always find political stuff that interesting, but today, I don't know, recently this one, it's got like enough action in the characters and enough interesting bits of magic as well to kind of just keep it all really fresh. So yeah, liking it a lot. I'll of course do like a proper little review when I've finished it, but so far so good, and hopefully I'll finish that soon, and I plan on starting something new tonight. Hey guys, so it's still day number 12 and it's actually almost 6 o'clock at night now. It's quite sunny outside. I did actually end up finishing The Ruin of Kings, which I didn't expect, but I'm very happy about, and that one ticks off the Defense Against the Dark Arts prompt, so I've completed that owl. Really tricky book to describe. I think I might find it hard to do a full review of this because it's got so much that happens and it's quite a long read, and I feel like it's just one of those books which is really difficult to pin down exactly what is going on, especially in the first section of the book and the last section of the book. I think the middle section was my favourite because I got to know the characters really well. I got into all their conflicts and I wanted to sort of root for certain ones, and it was just definitely like the middle section worked for me. The beginning, I think, still worked. It was really interesting, but I do think that it's quite tricky to get into because you do have these multiple different perspectives and storylines, and you're just kind of trying to wrap your head around how everything fits. And then the ending, I think, is good because there's so much drama and crazy stuff going on, and I did enjoy it, but I also think it becomes a little bit convoluted and a little bit over the top at times as well. There's actually a really big sort of dragon battle that happens not quite at the end, it's like maybe 3/4 of the way, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that whole section and all the section leading up to that was really good, but I do think that was a little bit more climactic in some ways than the ending, or it felt that way. The ending was maybe trying to be as climactic as that, but it didn't quite hit the same strokes that I wanted it to hit, if that makes sense. I did like the characters. I do want to see more from the world and the characters as well. I believe there will be another one in the series. It was a very political story. It had a lot of kind of moments where our main character, who's called Kirin or Rook, was dealing with the politics of his family and kind of trying to really understand who he is and how he fits into this very extreme, big, world expansive narrative that is going on. There's a lot of prophecy, a lot of magic. There's people who can go into the world of death and people who can call on demons. So there's demons in the world, there's dragons, there's geishas, which is like your soul can be trapped in an object. There's so many things in this world that I think were really fun and done very well, but there's also quite a few things that I think could have been tightened up or could have been slightly better. So I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely think it's a story that I enjoyed and I would recommend people read because it's just fun and I really liked it. And it definitely works for Defense Against the Dark Arts as well, actually, because it was very much defending this world against a lot of people who are very much set on destruction and the wrong sort of path and all of that kind of thing. So I did really enjoy it, but I do think there were some quibbles I had. Very happy that I finished that one off. Hey guys, so today is the 16th of the month, which means I'm over halfway through the read-a-thon now, which is good because I'm also halfway through my 12 books, I think. This one, I believe, is my 6th that I've just finished up. It's Tooth and Claw by Jo Walton, and I read this one as my Transfiguration book. It is red, so it counts, and I actually really enjoyed this. I'm very glad that I finally got around to reading it because it's one I've owned for a while, and it's basically kind of a family drama, but all of the people, or all of the characters, I should say, are dragons, and we focus in on 4 of the siblings in particular. There's 5 at the start of the book, but 4 of them are sort of main characters who we really focus in on, and we follow their stories after their father, Bon Aragon, dies, and his body is supposedly supposed to be divided up between all the siblings in a certain way to give the younger siblings, who do not yet have their prospects in life sorted out, a better chance. But unfortunately, one of the sisters, she's already married, and her husband, who's not by blood a member of the family, he's just a member of the family by marriage, comes in and he eats more than his fair share and also makes his kids eat more than their fair share, which causes a lot of family drama and kind of leads to a lot of politics and a lot of I don't know, I guess I would say small scale entertainment. It was very heavy on the drama, and there's lots of small conflicts that you follow, but there isn't a huge major one. There is a bigger conflict, but I don't feel like anything in this book is like a crazy war or anything like that. There are small undertones of talking about bigger discussions like slavery and religion, and I think that's really interesting to see in a book like this. It's very well handled, and Jo Walton did a really good job of kind of just telling a story that is very easy and simple and doesn't feel like it's hard work to read. It feels very quick to get into, but actually it deals with bigger topics, and it deals with family and love and loss in some interesting ways, and shows the brutal side of dragonkind and the hypocrisy of sort of high society culture. So I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars, and I definitely recommend it. But yeah, finished that one up. Hey guys, so it is still the 16th and I've just finished up another book. This is Blue Salt Road, which is by Joanne Harris. It's my first Joanne Harris book and I actually very much enjoyed it. It's kind of a retelling, and it was the book that I chose for Ancient Runes, so I've completed that challenge with this book, and it's kind of a retelling. It's kind of like a mixture of different folk and fairy tale stories, all about the sea whalings, selkies or silkies, however you want to call them, seals, and like men and women who can take off their seal skin and they can go ashore and they can become members of the folk who are humans, and it's all about women trapping these men who go on shore, or vice versa presumably, and it's about how love and loss and friendship and betrayal are kind of all interwoven in this story, and I just think it was a really lovely little read. It did not take me long at all to get through this, probably an hour at most, because it's only about 230 pages, and there's also beautiful illustrations which I'll show you because honestly some of them were stunning, and they are just absolutely beautiful illustrations throughout the whole thing. So I highly recommend checking out the illustrations if you do pick up a copy of this. It was just beautiful to read and really added to the atmosphere of the book. It's very much kind of based in like whaling culture and the culture of living by and on the sea and in the sea, and I really enjoyed it. So definitely one that I recommend. Don't read many retellings, but I like this one. And this is one of my favourite illustrations from the book, so yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. So I gave it a 3.5, mainly because it is such a short story and retellings aren't really my thing, but I did like this one a lot. So 3.5 stars from me, and Ancient Runes is ticked off officially. Hey guys, so it is officially Easter Sunday today, and I have not really got ready for the day particularly well yet, but it's quite a lazy morning, beautiful blue skies outside, and it looks like it's going to be a lovely day. The past few days I haven't really been reading, so it's the 21st now, but I have been seeing a lot of family and doing a lot of family things, so I've enjoyed the days even if I haven't been reading. But I wanted to get back to reading for the owls because I still have quite a few books to get through. I did start Once and Future, although I haven't got that far. I've only read chapter 1, but I've been reading this with some friends of mine and they have already finished it. So I need to catch up and definitely want to read more of this because they said that they really enjoyed it and they found the representation to be really, really good. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one and hopefully I'll think the same as them. And then I also started, although by started that's very tenuous because all I've done is read the introduction, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Again, hoping to get into this one today. I only have like an hour or two to read before I have to go out to my grandparents and then I'll be there for sort of most of the day today, but I should have some time this evening potentially, although my sister and her boyfriend are coming to stay with us. So honestly, although I think bank holiday weekends are going to give me loads of reading time, they usually do not, and I end up just having loads and loads of time with family and friends, which is great, but not actually doing what I want to, which is read. So hopefully, even if I don't finish them over like today and tomorrow, because I'm busy, I will finish them over the next week and let you guys know what I think. But yeah, little update for now. I've started both, haven't got very far with either, so hopefully I can dip into one of these now and make good progress, and I'll let you know what I think sort of when I get into them. Hey guys, so today's the 23rd and as you can see I just got home from work and had a shower, so hence this lovely accessory. But I wanted to give you an update. Basically, I went to the beach yesterday, I had a really busy bank holiday weekend and I didn't really read anything much. I think I read about 8 pages of Brave New World and that's about it, so not very good. However, I have made progress with Brave New World in general, and I'm now on page 63 of Brave New World. Gotta say, not loving it, not finding it as good as I was hoping. Interesting in terms of there's lots of discussion happening, and I think the way that the characters are portrayed, which is quite distant and quite aloof in a way, is what's putting me off. But I know that that is done for a reason by the author. I think it's so that you can sort of analyse what they're doing and analyse the society they live in. However, it's not working as well as it could for me. But I'm definitely planning to finish this one up, so not too much left, another 150-ish pages, so hopefully I can make good progress on this and finish it up before the end of the month. And then the other one that I started a while ago was this one. I haven't made any progress yet, but I'm planning to hopefully read some of this today, so I'm going to dip in and out of both of them. Brave New World is a little bit heavy going, whereas this one's much lighter and more fun, so hopefully I'll enjoy this one and it will keep me going chapter each maybe, or a couple chapters of each and then switch around. I'm not sure yet, but hopefully I can figure out a way to do both of them. Hey guys, so I've been reading for about another half an hour, 40 minutes, and I've actually made good progress. I'm on sort of page 130. I am starting to like it a lot more. So the two main characters, I suppose, are called Lenina and Bernard, and they have just gone into, well, I say just, a while ago they went into the old world, I guess, which is like our world in a way. It's kind of an Indian culture, and it's all about sort of tribal beliefs and tribal cultures, and it's definitely very different from this very clean, clear, concise sort of society that they come from, where they've all been conditioned, where they've all been told how to think and what to think, and they don't even understand the extent of how conditioned they are. Even people like Bernard, who are kind of outsiders, they're people who don't really fit the mold and don't quite know why, and they're really not sure about their place in the society. Even people like him are still entirely disgusted by some of the things that have been happening in this like Indian reserve kind of place that they've gone to. And I think it's interesting to kind of see how this has changed them a bit and how it's going to change them as the story goes on. I think there's a lot more to come, and I'm pretty intrigued to see where it's going to go now. But I just wanted to say that I am getting way more into it. The characters have started to come a bit more to life for me, and I'm definitely enjoying it now rather than just kind of plodding on with it, so that's good. So I've just finished this one, Brave New World, and I just don't know what I think of it. It's such a mixed bag for me. I think the beginning and the end I wasn't that big a fan of. The middle I liked more. But it has some really interesting commentary on modern day society. It still definitely has relevance into consumerism and into like controllers and leaders and people who make decisions on behalf of the population, whether they are the right decisions, whether they're the wrong decisions. It's all about people who stand out, who kind of don't fit the mold, what they do in a society that has been crafted only for people who do fit the mold. I guess at the time of writing it would have been far more shocking to a reader than it is to me today, and maybe that's part of why it doesn't shock me that much, or it doesn't feel as revolutionary as something else could that was written in today's climate for a futuristic utopian audience, I guess. I just think that the characters are hard to get behind and they're hard to like because you're not supposed to like them necessarily. They're not like us, they're different, they're very, very different. They're almost an alien culture on their own because they are so inhuman in a way. And I don't know really, I think it's a very middle of the road book. It has some really interesting stuff, but it also is not a read that I enjoyed in the same way as like picking up a normal fantasy book. It's a read that I enjoyed because it is so different and was such a different, unique thing in the time it was written. But it's just not a book that I would read for fun. It's more one to read for a commentary or a reflection on society. And for that reason, I gave it sort of a middle of the road, like 2.5, very middle. Can't really discuss too much detail on it all, but it was interesting enough to keep me reading. I finished it. I actually think, having finished it now, that the introductions at the start of this are worth reading after the book rather than before, because then you get a lot more of the context of the actual introduction. So I would recommend doing it that way round. But yeah, definitely an interesting read. Perhaps not my favourite of the books I've read for this readathon, but at least I've now read it. Hey guys, so it is a couple of hours later, but the same day, and I've been reading Once and Future. I have managed to squeeze in 80 pages of this, and I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely a really easy read, one that doesn't seem to take much time at all to sort of get into, and it's a retelling of King Arthur, but with a lot of gender fluidity. So there's a character who is just referred to as they because they are gender fluid. There's a character who has two mums instead of a mother and a father. And there's also lots of characters who are sort of non-binary or queer or LGBTQ plus so on. So I'm really enjoying the representation side of things here. I feel like that is definitely something that this book gets props for. And also the fast pace is really good. It's definitely got vibes of like medieval stuff, but it's super futuristic, it's super fast paced, super easy to get into. Merlin is a bit of a grump and I'm definitely liking his character. Ari is the female character who is the reincarnation of Arthur, and she's just feisty. She's got a lot of ideas about what she wants and how she's going to do it. Determined, someone who's very aware of herself, but not necessarily aware of how much trouble she can get in, despite already having encountered lots of trouble. So it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, this one, and hopefully a fairly quick read. It's about 9 o'clock in the evening, so I'm hoping I can get another hour or two of reading in before I go to bed, and I'll update you guys as I go. I also wanted to let you know that I have changed one of my books, the set in a future one, from The Bastard Legion to this one, Atlas Alone by Emma Newman, because this one has literally just come out a day or two ago, and I love Emma Newman, and all of her books in this series are set in the future. So it definitely counts, and I'm super excited to read this, so I just could not wait to get to it, and it fit that prompt perfectly, so I've switched it out for The Bastard Legion, and I'm very happy about that decision. I think it's going to be really, really good, so I'm definitely planning to finish this one up over the next week as well. Hey guys, so it is almost 10:30, so I'm going to probably call it a day and finish reading for today, but I have made very good progress on Once and Future. I'm on page 233 of about 320, I think, so less than 100 pages left, which is great news, and I'm definitely enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. It's certainly the first Arthurian retelling I've ever read, and I'm really enjoying it. I guess I could have actually counted this as a retelling, but I didn't realise it was full-on retelling I mean, it's very different to the original story of King Arthur, but it's also got a lot of similarities and it draws a lot on the mythology, just set in a completely different world, or I suppose universe, because they're on spaceships most of the time. I definitely enjoy it, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how it's all going to play out. It's quite an easy read. I think I said this before. It just seems really easy to get into, and I'm hoping I'll finish it up tomorrow, so I'll definitely give you an update when I do. Hey guys, so it's the 24th today, and I've just finished up reading this one, After Atlas by Emma Newman, which was my book for divination. And I loved it, of course. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I completely love this series that Emma Newman has created with the Planetfall series. Each book can be read alone, but I still recommend that you read them in order of publication, because although the first 3 don't matter so much, this one I think relies more heavily on the events of the previous books for you to fully understand the society and just the way that it's all evolved, because there's a lot of terminology that is introduced and kind of explained more thoroughly in previous titles. So I would say, even though they're kind of touted as standalones and can be read in any order, they can, but I would say read them in publication order. Now, this story, Atlas Alone, is about a woman called Dee, who we met in a previous book, and she is on a spaceship called Atlas II, travelling away from Earth, and she and a couple of her friends, Carl and Travis, are all on this spaceship, and they are sort of looking to set up a new future. However, they all kind of got onto this spaceship through various means that are detailed in previous books, and they're not necessarily that aware of kind of everything that's been going on politically and everything that's been going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. So there's some really dark secrets that have happened on this spaceship, and it's something that one mysterious character gets in contact with Dee about, and when she goes into a game and she starts playing with this mysterious character's game, things start happening in the real world, which is very bizarre and very frightening to her, and that is where the story picks off and kind of kicks off and really gets going, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thoroughly recommend this series to anyone who's not tried it, because honestly, all 4 books have been super, and I think definitely Dee is a dislikable character, but she's done so well, and Emma Newman's books just, I love them so much because they deal so much with mental health and with things that you don't see that much in science fiction. This one also has some interesting robotic elements and scientific elements that I think were really, really cool. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of Becky Chambers at times as well. I won't say why, but definitely a good thing. So yeah, lots of really good things to like about this series, and I thoroughly recommend it, and that ticks off divination for me, so very happy to have completed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Hey guys, so same day, I've now finished up Once and Future, which I have to admit I really, really enjoyed. This was my arithmancy one. It's a story that's written by 2 authors, Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy, who are a queer couple, and they are just so fun at what they do. This is an Arthurian retelling set in space with so many queer characters and so much, like, I don't know, just greatness, I guess. The representation is definitely fun. It's so refreshing and enlightening and just uplifting to see characters who are not your straight white cis males being the future and being something so, I don't know, like, it's obviously a story that's based on the past. It's based on King Arthur, the legend. Whether he was or not is a whole other kind of ballgame, but it's based on the past, but it's such a futuristic look. It's such an idealistic look. I mean, there's problems in this universe. There's a big corporation called Mercer who try and control and squash down any resistance. But there's also a lot of hope and happiness in the characters and the Knights of the Round Table and Ari and her story and the way that she kind of gradually unravels a lot of the history that's been associated with the story of King Arthur, and she does her own thing. And I really, really enjoyed that about this, and I think there's just a lot to like and a lot to be very mindful about as well, things to think about when reading literature, especially sort of sci-fi and fantasy going forward, and how things should be represented that aren't necessarily always shown. And this book does a good job of that, in my opinion. But I am not someone who identifies as LGBTQ, so I can't speak to the trueness of the representation. I just personally think that it's great to see it in the form that it's in, and I don't think that we have an awful lot of shaming or anything like that, so I enjoyed it for that reason, definitely. So I highly recommend this. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I definitely think it's a fun, easy read to get into, and one that a lot of people would really enjoy and take a lot from. Hey guys, so it's the last day of the readathon, and I'm reading this, which is one of my last owls. This one has a plant on the cover, lichen, as you can see. So yeah, making good progress on this. Should definitely finish it today because it's only a couple hundred pages, and I'm liking it so far. I'm actually already quite close to the end on this one. And it's a story about a woman who discovers a rare, super rare kind of lichen, which actually gives you some sort of scientific evolution, I suppose, where your genes can replicate and go beyond sort of the normal lifespan. So she finds out about this lichen in the presence of her boss, and together they aren't sure what it means or what it does, but eventually they each take their own routes to discovering what it does, and they both find out what the properties are and how it can elongate life. So it's basically making someone almost immortal. It can just stretch their life way beyond the years they would normally have. And then it comes to the ethical question of, what do you do when you discover something like this? Do you give it to people or do you hold it back? It's really interesting as an idea and a concept, so I'm definitely enjoying it. I'll let you guys know what I think when I finish it as well, but so far so good, and I hope that this will be one of the last owls that I get to complete. I probably will not manage to do the one with the star on the cover because I haven't even started that one and it's the last day, but I still feel like I've had a good run with the owls, and if I get 11 out of 12 I'll be very happy. Okay, so I just finished reading this one, definitely enjoyed it. I do enjoy most of John Wyndham's books. He definitely writes stories that are just interesting, but they don't feel super overwhelming on the hard science. It's very easy to get into them. They're super approachable. They're stories that are set in an older version of Britain most of the time, so you can, well, if you're from Britain, you can connect, I guess, but there's only a limited supply of the anti-genome. Some people who get that can live to maybe 300 years old, whereas the rest of the population is going to live just to, say, 70. What are the ramifications? How would politics intervene? How would science intervene? How would the rest of the world, who are suppliers of this lichen that they don't even know has this effect, react, and so on? And we're following two main characters, the scientists, as I mentioned before, and it's kind of their story of like, how would they deal with such a big story? One of them goes for a secretive route and one goes for a very public route with an end goal. So that completes my 11th owl of the readathon, and probably the readathon as a whole, because I do not think I'm going to get any more time today to read anything else. So pretty happy that I got 11 out of 12, must admit, and I definitely look forward to the next readathon where we have to do the newts, so that'll be good fun. But yeah, really enjoyed the owls, definitely liked the book. I'm going to give it a 3.5 probably out of 5.
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.